Good evening, everyone. I'm Tony Paniagua, and welcome to AZ Illustrated Nature. Georgia Davis is out today. Coming up next, we'll take you to Cochise County, southeast of Tucson, where there's an important discussion about the fate of the San Pedro River in Arizona. Will its water be around for future generations? Also, a new bilingual report is coming out about the state of the Santa Cruz River. But first, here's a look at tonight's headlines.
Voters with no party affiliation now make up the largest group of registered voters in Arizona. The latest voter registration numbers show that 1,134,000 voters now identify themselves as having no party affiliation. 1,130,000 voters are registered as Republicans, and 960,000 Democrats are registered in the state. The increasing number of unaffiliated voters has been a trend in Arizona since the late 1990s. A University of Arizona research project looking at helping veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder by giving them marijuana is one step closer to beginning. The federal government gave UA researchers permission to get marijuana for the study from a federally run farm, a requirement for this type of research. The Drug Enforcement Agency still must approve. Arizona gets an overall grade of A in the Charter School Law and Rankings scorecard. That's the same ranking as last year. The Center for Education Reform says Arizona is in the top 5 in part because of the freedom teachers have in charter schools. The scorecard also gives Arizona high marks on how much charter schools can spend on facilities. The report shows Arizona had more than 600 charter schools last year, 70 more than the previous year. And today is St. Patrick's Day, the day when everyone is Irish. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, about 11% of Pima County residents claim Irish ancestry. And that's a look at tonight's headlines.
Water is an abundant resource around the world. Most of our planet's surface is covered by oceans, but fresh, usable water is a very different story. It comprises only about 1% of Earth's total water supply, and many Arizonans are very familiar with this challenge. In Cochise County, the issue of available water and conservation is at the heart of the community's economy and growth, especially because of its close connection and dependence on the San Pedro River. But the San Pedro is facing growing demands, and its future is uncertain. This story is produced by Zach Ziegler and photojournalist Steve Riggs.
It's been a particularly dry winter in Cochise County. January and February saw little to no rain. Despite that lack of precipitation, the San Pedro River continues to flow. A big reason the river is running is water conservation efforts in nearby Sierra Vista.
15 years ago, for example, we had a 14,000 acre-foot deficit. Okay, there's 327,000 gallons in an acre-foot. We had a big deficit. Today, that deficit is arguably down to somewhere around 3,000 acre-feet. That's within the margin of error.
Those massive conservation efforts are not because the area lacks water. The issue is what happens if Sierra Vista uses the water it has.
We actually have a very large aquifer with up to a couple thousand years of water based on Arizona Department of Water Resources reports that have been done. The issue is really how does that water usage and the groundwater pumping that is occurring in the area, how will that eventually affect the San Pedro River?
The issue starts with the San Pedro Riparian National Conservation Area. The protected area was established in 1988 to protect the river, which is invaluable to local wildlife and migrating birds. The 40-mile-long riparian area is supposed to remain unaffected by humans. That means nearby communities, particularly Sierra Vista, need to make sure the San Pedro doesn't dry up. If the river were to stop flowing, the federal government would consider moving some of Fort Huachuca's Army operations elsewhere to mitigate water use.
We do not have a water shortage, all right? We have enough water here for the next 300 years. We have a water issue, and that issue is How much water can we use before it begins to impact the flow of the river? If we didn't care about the river at all, there would be no conversation here, but we do, obviously.
While ground pumping has yet to affect the San Pedro, the hope is to solve the problem before it even starts. That means planning for the slow but steady growth the area has seen in the last 15 years.
I think one thing, that might surprise people is between the 2000 and 2010 census, our city population actually only grew 1.6% per year. So we have very, very modest low growth rates.
While that number is lower than other places in the state, it is something that Sierra Vista is accounting for. And it's done so with strict construction rules in the city.
Any new construction in the city of Sierra Vista has to meet the EPA's water sense standards. It's the first city in the country that has adopted those codes.
That means low flow fixtures, special irrigation for landscaping, and homeowner education are now a must for new houses.
The home built next month will save anywhere from 20 to 30,000 gallons of water versus the same exact home built the month before.
The city also has other unique ordinances, such as a ban on lawns in front yards and a total ban on grass in non-residential development. Those standards are having a significant effect on how housing developments are being planned. Most of the land available for development in Sierra Vista is part of a master-planned mixed-use area called Tribute, owned by developer Castle & Cook.
This really represents planning that'll accommodate probably the growth of the city for the next 40 years. I mean, what we're doing here isn't going to promote growth. It will only allow for smart and planned growth.
Smart, planned growth can mean more efficiency.
I look at the houses we're building today, and there's so much more. They're about 35% on an average more water efficient than they were 5 or 6 years ago. We have a water company here, Pueblo del Sol Water Company, and that water company, we pumped last year, we pumped about 10% less water for about 6% more population than we had 5 years before that.
That's evident in the amount of water the average Sierra Vista resident uses.
We've lowered our gallons per capita usage daily, some 40 gallons a day over the last 10 years, simply through education.
But cutting the number of gallons used by each person leaves the area's environmental movement concerned.
I think what we know about the per capita use in terms of water is shows a good number. One of the problems is that if you keep increasing the capita, the population, at some point it overcomes whatever you saved in dropping your gallons per capita.
Many environmentalists, such as Tricia Girardet, are worried that as long as more water is taken from the aquifer than is going in, it will eventually lead to a problem.
Where they haven't gotten on board, from my point of view, is the big concept of we can't take any more water from the aquifer than we're taking now.
And it's not just environmentalists who believe every drop of water drawn from the aquifer needs to be replenished.
We need to be at zero. That's all we've been doing for the last 15 years. Like I said, we've gone from a huge overdraft of 14,000 acre feet down to, again, we're within the margin of error of being zero. We need to get down to a zero deficit. And in fact, we would like to start accreting water to that aquifer.
While the goal of replacing all of the water taken out of the aquifer is in place in Sierra Vista, one variable is out of the hands of the city, those who live upstream.
Mexico is a huge wild card. All that we're doing on this side of the river, it's not being done on the other side of that barbed wire fence, all right, just a mile away. That river starts in Mexico. One of the world's largest reserves of copper is at the head of the San Pedro River, okay, Cananea. they could do something on that side, a fish farm, more agriculture, who knows? It'd dry that river up in a flash.
And that leaves one of the last remaining keys to ensuring the future of the San Pedro River out of the hands of the city that relies on it.
The San Pedro is just one of the rivers in Arizona that also flows in Mexico, so efforts to preserve the rivers requires international agreements and cooperation. We are joined by Christopher Scott, who works at the University of Arizona as an associate professor at the Udall Center for Studies in Public Policy and the School of Geography and Development. He also works with the Water Resources and Policy Group, and he is the co-director of AQUASEC, Center of Excellence for Water Security. Christopher, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks, it's a pleasure.
So you are involved in many different organizations. Why don't you give us a synopsis of how all of this, of course, is connected by water?
Water, of course, is fundamental to life. Water is fundamental to ecosystems and economic development. I mean, it's sort of a starting point. Our particular interest, both with regard to the academic programs and research and studies, but also linking with decision makers, stakeholders in government, non-government sectors, is looking at a concept called water security. How do we assure water for humans and ecosystems?
So we just watched this story about the San Pedro River, and of course, it is an issue that is very important, again, speaking about global issues or international relations, because it flows into Mexico or out of Mexico. How do you see that moving forward, working with our southern neighbor here?
Yeah, particularly with the case of the San Pedro, the river starts in just outside of Cananea in Mexico. And flows northward across the international boundary to Sierra Vista, and ultimately is a tributary to the Gila, which in turn is a tributary to the Colorado River. Similarly, just to the west of that is the Santa Cruz, but we'll come back to that maybe in a second. And so the San Pedro has an effort on the U.S. side called the Upper San Pedro Partnership, and your story has looked at a lot of initiatives. Similarly, on the Mexican side, there is a nascent, beginning initiative at River Basin Management that will look at a whole set of issues for human use of water, but ecosystem quality, and then of course the transboundary aspect of how much water and the quality of the water that flows from Mexico into the United States. So we're involved with these stakeholders, the decision makers on both sides. And there's some clear differences. These are much more local initiatives in Arizona, whereas in Mexico, water is what's called a federal subject. It gets handled by CONAGUA, the National Water Commission, and of course with a series of local decision makers too. So we're working to broker decision making and broker partnerships across the border.
One of the partnerships you mentioned apparently involves ranchers on both sides of the border, or farmers. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so of course with the urban centers of Sierra Vista and Cananea, there's also a lot of rural land use, and most of that, because these are higher elevation areas, are in ranching. There isn't a lot of crop agriculture the way we might think of in areas closer to Tucson or getting towards Phoenix and so forth. And so most of the rural land use is around ranching. And ranching and the stocking rates for the cattle and the types of grasses and land covers are very important for the way the river works, because that's what generates the flow that comes out of the system, both after monsoon rainfalls and winter, but also the underground water is influenced, of course, by what we're doing with the land surface. And so a binational initiative has partnered ranchers in the U.S. with ranchers in Mexico to do a rancher-to-rancher, a user-to-user exchange on techniques for land conservation improvement and water management. And that's principally around farm ponds and actually capturing and storing water, and the degree to which this is pursued on both sides of the border actually can have beneficial hydrological or water resource impacts, because it recharges the river system and it recharges the aquifers.
So how interconnected are the states of Arizona and Sonora? You brought a map that shows that basically the boundary was established here, but that, of course, does not follow what occurs in nature.
Yeah, so most of the water resources of southeastern Arizona, including the part near Tucson, but certainly Sierra Vista and so forth, the highlands are in Mexico, and so Mexico is the place where those watersheds start, and the rivers and the aquifers too drain across the border from Mexico into the United States. It's not that way uniformly across all of Mexico or Arizona and Sonora's borders, but really that southeastern part that we're talking about. And so the degree to which water resources management, land use practices, pollution control, and so forth is pursued in Mexico, it's a direct benefit to the United States. And so we're keen on brokering those binational collaboration and agreements such that we can work together to solve these problems.
So there is concern about rivers like San Pedro, the Santa Cruz, long term, because obviously the Santa Cruz, for example, doesn't flow anymore here in the Tucson area. Are we going to be able to continue to increase populations in this state and have reliable sources of water, such as these rivers?
Yeah, that's a very important question, of course, as we think the long-term future and even the medium-term questions associated with the future of development in our region. There's a long answer to that as well, saying the way we handle agriculture and the way we handle mining activities, not just people in town, using water for indoor and outdoor purposes, but the whole suite of human water resource uses. It also comes to policies around water reuse and reclamation, how we actually deal with water that's actually gone through a human use system that comes out as sewage, and then we treat it and reclaim it and so forth. But the short answer to your question is I'm very optimistic about water resource management here on the border. We've got issues that we're dealing with, so it's not that we can just sort of keep on business as usual, but there are a lot of very smart and active people working on these kinds of questions, and that's not just in the academic sector with research, with trying to bring science to bear on decision making, but that's agencies and decision makers, and even the non-governmental and private sectors are involved. So it's not just the government-to-government and academic exchange, but it's a whole series of cross-border initiatives that we're working to promote.
Okay, well, Dr. Christopher Scott, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next NewsHour, Margaret Warner continues her reporting from Crimea after a crucial vote on whether it sides with Russia or Ukraine. That's Monday on the PBS NewsHour.
Over 30 years ago, NASA's Bob Farquhar sent a satellite to investigate a comet.
We beat all the other countries of the world, the European Space Agency, the Russians, the Japanese.
Now he wants to bring that satellite back. I'm David Green, a veteran engineer with a new mission for a veteran spacecraft on the next morning edition from NPR News.
We have been talking about the importance of rivers and the threats they are facing, and now we'll focus on one of the most recognizable of these landmarks in our state. The Santa Cruz River begins in Arizona, flows south into Mexico, but then makes a U-turn, travels north again, and re-enters our state. However, for the past several decades, it is dry most of the year. We have two guests to talk about the state of the Santa Cruz River. Claire Zugmeyer is an ecologist with the Sonoran Institute, and Vanessa Bechtol is the executive director of the Santa Cruz Valley Heritage Alliance. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
All right, let's begin with you, Claire. What is the Sonoran Institute for people who may not be familiar with this organization?
Yeah, Sonoran Institute is a nonprofit conservation organization, and we rely on community support to find solutions that respect both the land and the people in western U.S. and northwestern Mexico.
All right, and Vanessa, same question for you. The Santa Cruz Valley Heritage Alliance, how long has it been around and what does it do?
Sure, the Santa Cruz Valley Heritage Alliance is a nonprofit organization that was created in 2003. And as our name suggests, we are an alliance of different stakeholders, so government agencies, nonprofit organizations, businesses, chambers of commerce, private landowners. And we worked collaboratively to connect people to the history and culture and natural heritage of the entire Santa Cruz watershed.
Okay, and what would you like to say about that watershed, Vanessa, about where it is right now and how it can be helped for the future?
Sure, our focus is mostly on connecting people to resources with regards to education and promotion. So we have a lot of events and festivals that help people experience the different aspects of the Santa Cruz Valley's heritage, so history, culture, things like hiking and birding. We're a top birding destination, Native American history, Spanish and Mexican history. So we have festivals that we put on our website. We have a heritage tourism map that's available on our website as well. That's an interactive map where people can go see how they can get involved and experience these different aspects of our heritage.
All right, and Claire, you are intimately familiar with the Santa Cruz River. I remember having interviewed you a few years ago with your research out there. What would you like to say about that research that has occurred and what you're doing now?
Yeah, so Sonoran Institute has been working along the Santa Cruz River for many years now, and we have been working, as you said earlier, that the river is dry most of the year, but we do have some stretches of the river that flow year-round thanks to effluent that's released into the river. And so we've been mainly focusing on tracking the health of the river in these stretches, initially in Santa Cruz County, and recently we've been expanding that work into the Tucson area, working with Pima County on a new Living River report series.
All right, and you are coming out with the state of the Santa Cruz River. What would you like to say about this report? Why is it significant, and what should people gain from this?
Yeah, we're really excited to release this report this month. The state of the Santa Cruz River focuses on both the natural and the cultural heritage of the river. And the river is really the foundation in this region. For example, the Tumacacori mission was built where it is because the river was flowing year-round. And so there's a lot of overlap with the natural and cultural world that sometimes we forget and we separate them. And there's a lot of good work being done in the area to protect both the natural and cultural heritage, and Vanessa's organization is one of these, and they're highlighted in the report.
And one of the things, Vanessa, that you're trying to do is you're trying to have the river declared as a national heritage area?
Yes, and it's not specifically the river, it's the watershed.
Okay.
So a larger area. And the National Heritage Area program is a way to honor and celebrate the unique combination of history and culture in this region and how it contributes to American history. So it's a way for Congress to honor our region and our nationally distinctive landscapes, the desert environment, the grasslands, the 4,000 years of agricultural traditions, the 12,000 years of people living here continuously, which is directly tied to the fact that we had a flowing river for so long. So the National Heritage Area Program is a non-regulatory designation that recognizes this region's contribution to American history and helps promote the region, creates a framework for collaborative partnerships and working together with private and public partners to continue to promote and preserve in a voluntary way the natural heritage and the historic resources of the region. So we've been working on this federal designation for going on 11 years now, and we do have legislation that has been introduced in the House of Representatives that was co-sponsored by Congressman Grijalva and Congressman Barber, and we are encouraging Senator McCain to sponsor similar legislation in the Senate. He just recently, a few days ago, introduced legislation for the Yuma Crossing Heritage Area. So we are encouraging him to sponsor similar legislation for the Santa Cruz Valley National Heritage Area.
Okay, and Claire, what would you like to say about the Santa Cruz River Research Days? It's a free event open to the public, and it's going to be held soon.
Yes, so Research Days is next week on March 27th and 28th, and it's at the Downtown Library, and it's an annual event that's been growing every year. It gives an opportunity for people working along the Santa Cruz to share their research, network, get new ideas, and last year was the first year that we really made an explicit focus on both natural and cultural work happening in the area. And
great. Well, we will have links to both of your organizations on our website for people who want to look into the report or any of the activities with the Santa Cruz Valley Heritage Alliance. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Salton Sea in California is actually the largest lake in our neighboring state. It was created in the early 1900s from a Colorado River flood, but there is concern about its long-term viability due to a lack of replenishing precipitation. There have been several proposals to sustain this body of water, which attracts a diversity of birds and other life. This segment is produced by Arizona Public Media's Tom Gillespie and edited by Steve Bayless.
At 227 feet below sea level, the Salton Sea is one of the lowest spots on Earth. While called a sea, it also happens to be California's largest lake and home to the Sonny Bono Salton Sea National Wildlife Refuge. Most of the wildlife taking refuge there are birds.
This National Wildlife Refuge has documented over 424 bird species. That's a tremendous number for any single area across North America. Among other national wildlife refuges that I'm familiar with, it's more than any other refuge in the whole country.
The Salton Sea is a hotspot, literally, and not just for bird watching. Located above active seismic features, its shore is dotted with evidence of the escaping tectonic heat. But it's hot in other ways too. Located in the Sonoran Desert, the Salton Sea is, in all senses of the word, a desert lake.
Rainfall is sporadic. It's nothing to be counted on. On average, over the decades, it probably averages about 2 to 3 inches a year. We're among the lowest rainfall averages in the U.S. Summer, I wouldn't be surprised if we are around 115 degrees Fahrenheit for a sustained period. We can get as hot as 120 degrees. Winters are very mild, and so we are a wintering destination for a lot of bird species from northern latitudes.
Those desert conditions contribute to another of the Salton Sea's characteristically distinctive traits, the salinity of the water.
The Salton Sea is getting saltier. Nutrients are accumulating. It's at about 52 parts per thousand salt. The Pacific Ocean is about 35 parts per thousand, so it's getting significantly saltier than normal marine habitats. But it's still a good destination for birds. They're still able to find ample habitat, healthy habitat here at the Salton Sea.
The ever-increasing salinity and blistering heat have led to extreme conditions for some of the wildlife that lives below the surface.
It is a stressed environment. For example, a lot of the game fish that used to be in the Salton Sea, the corvine and the croaker, have died out. The Salton Sea is like a fish tank that you might have at home that you sustain by plugging in your filter and running your pump to oxygenate the water. The Salton Sea is a contained environment like that, except it doesn't have the benefit of an oxygenator and a filter to filter out all the waste products from organisms living and dying in the Salton Sea are producing. Specifically, those byproducts of organic decomposition are hydrogen sulfide and ammonia. Well, those two components of organic decomposition are accumulating, and it's stressing the environment, and so far has caused the extinction of corvina and croaker in the Salton Sea. The state of California regulates all public water bodies and has not declared the Salton Sea a hazard to humans or wildlife.
In spite of all the adversity, the Salton Sea remains a popular stopover for millions of birds on their annual migrations. And with the presence of those birds, it's also a popular spot for bird watchers to ply their hobby.
A lot of the birds and animals come and go throughout the year, perhaps just getting a little rest and food to continue them on their migration farther south or north, whichever direction they're going. Biologically, it's extremely interesting to see wildlife working on the edge of an extreme environment and succeeding. They do it well here.
That's our show. To keep up with the latest news or to watch the segments from this or any other editions of AZ Illustrated, you may visit our website at news.azpm.org. I'm Tony Paniagua. Thanks for watching.